And now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
This is the RBLR Rays podcast. I'm your host, Zach Dahl, along with my co-host, Pat Davenport. Pat, how are you feeling?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. I mean, it's been a bit of a frustrating week in Rays baseball. Past couple of weeks, I would say, have been a little frustrating. I was here telling everyone not to panic last week, and I thought I was going to be proven right after a big win against the Braves and then a humongous win against the Red Sox. But alas, we might have to get back on the how can we convince people not to panic train again this week after a real, we're on another L4. But in a non-Rays related talk, I was in the stadium for one of the greatest football games of all time, Man United against Lyon, where for anyone who doesn't follow soccer, the Man United were down 4-2 with 6 minutes to go in extra time, and came back to win 5-4 with 2 goals after the 120th minute had sounded into stoppage time. For a real historic comeback for the ages. And I was in the ground, and I'm kind of lucky that I'm able to pod here today because I wasn't sure if I was still going to have a voice. How are you doing?
I'm doing really, really well. I am still coasting. I feel like one of the biggest misses for the last couple weeks is I haven't talked enough about how amazing the Florida Gators basketball team was, because I'm still coasting off of their title and off of all the excitement from that. It is kind of getting me through these last couple of weeks. Also the Masters. I don't know, are you a golf person, Pat?
I'm not, but it was on in the background, and I knew about Rory McIlroy's story, and it was really nice to see him do what he did in a playoff hole, right?
Yeah, I mean, the way that he lost the tournament, won it again, lost it again, won it again, lost it again on the last hole, misses like a 7-footer to win the Masters. They had the graphic up on the top that's for the career Grand Slam, misses that, goes to the playoff hole, hits an incredible approach shot, makes that putt. It was beautiful. One of the greatest golf tournaments I've ever watched. I am a little bit too young to have seen Tiger fully throughout all of his heyday. I saw a lot of it, and I've watched a lot of it back. But it's been really cool to see Rory, who's been kind of the guy that was tagged to be the next one up after Tiger come in and do this. And I think that the greatness that we saw Rory put out there, it's going to be hard to top that ever in a golf tournament for a while at least.
Yeah, and this was like basically his last real chance to do it too, right?
I mean, not necessarily his last real chance, but it was one of those things where it felt like if he didn't do it here, that it wasn't going to happen. And I think we can all relate to that feeling, because I'm pretty sure that's exactly what Jonathan Aranda thought as he was rounding second base last night, is if I don't do it here, it's not going to happen. And we're going to segue out of trying to distract ourselves from what has happened on the baseball field with the other stuff that has happened. And we hope that if you are here still through that distracting beginning there, if you're still with us, we appreciate you. If you do us a huge favor, if you're enjoying the show, the thing that helps us the most is just subscribing to follow us so that you know when we're going live on whatever social you enjoy watching us on. I know all of you that are watching have got feelings about this team and about how we're doing. So let us know over on YouTube how you feel, because we're going to talk about it all. We're not shying away from any of the topics, because we can, we've all got Twitter too. We know exactly what the frustration is right now. We're going to get into all of it. So let's just get right into it. We'll start with the good, because there's not a lot of it, so we can get through it pretty quickly, because it was the first 2 games of the week. Atlanta finished that series out strong with an 8-3 win. Felt pretty good coming off of that series win. It felt like one that we should have won, that was against it. It felt like an inferior opponent, although there's a lot of talent on that Atlanta roster. But to get that series win just felt nice to kind of go into what, at the beginning of the week, we both felt, I think, was a very important week against 2 division opponents.
Yeah, 100%. It was the Joe Boyle game, right? Like, he went 5 innings, gave up just no hits, but gave up a couple of runs that the bullpen kind of let in for him. But really, really encouraging stuff for Boyle. And you'd like to hope that when he does return to the rotation, which I think he will continue that kind of momentum. It kind of lets you know that if someone else gets hurt, we know that we've got the next man up ready to go, which is really reassuring.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk since Boyle's start about if he deserves a spot in the rotation relative to maybe a guy. And the target was Zach Littell, that a lot of people were saying was the odd man out. Some people mentioned Bradley too. Do you think right now that he deserves a spot in the rotation over some of the other guys that are currently getting starts?
One start is anyone can have one good start, anyone can have one bad start. I think Joe Boyle has a super high ceiling, but I still think his floor is pretty low.
Yeah.
I love Joe Boyle, and I think he has the potential to be a frontline starter very soon, perhaps by the end of this season. But the Rays are still working on him, and the reason that we were able to get him in the first place is because he's a work in progress, and he's a guy that is prone to big command blowups. And I feel like if we just kept putting him out there, he's going to have one of those pretty soon. I'd rather he continue to hone his craft in AAA, where the games don't matter as much, and he can get his process as fine-tuned as possible, and get him going as quick as we can. I think Littell had a really good start actually against the Red Sox a few days ago, and he's proven that his floor is higher than what people give him credit for.
Yeah, and I think the thing that is easy to forget, because you see 5 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, 2 walks, no hits, looks really, really good. The problem is that he started the 6th and it recorded no outs, hit by pitch and a walk, to then bring in Mason Montgomery. So you really got almost, I want to say, the complete Joe Boyle experience, because they did pull him before it got any worse. But you kind of got the Joe Boyle experience. He's going to be really, really good up to through the 5th. He had only walked one guy, had only, I think that was the only base runner he had allowed to that point in the game, was the 1 walk. But you get to the 5th, you get to the 6th inning, and all of a sudden it's a hit by pitch, it's a walk, and you got 2 men on. So yeah, that's the Joe Boyle experience. And you're going to get those 7 strikeouts, and they were super fun to watch, and the stuff is ridiculous. But I completely agree with you. I think that it was a great spot start. He came in a big moment where we needed that, because I can't imagine how we would feel if we hadn't won that game and the rest of the week proceeded the way that it did. So getting that win was really huge, and he was a big part of that.
And it set up an extra day of rest for Shane Baz, who then threw a gem in what was an absolute blowout of the Boston Red Sox in that series opener.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that that's something that we talked about before the season was going to be a strength of the Rays, is having the depth on the pitching side to allow for that extra day of rest that will give all of the Rays pitchers the ability to perform at their highest level. And Joe Boyle provided that. And then, like you said, kind of going into the next series, we had a great offensive performance, a great pitching performance. It was a game that was just so much fun to watch. Some of it was bad Boston defense, but a lot of it was the Rays putting the ball in play where they weren't and capitalizing. And it was a really, really fun game to watch.
Yeah, lots of ground balls, which you'd prefer less of, but they were all absolutely smoked. Like, Tanner Houck was not fooling anybody. Even when the balls were on the ground, they were all hard hit. Like every single batted ball felt like it was at 95 to 105 miles an hour. Cameron Meisner had himself a heck of a game in there, 2 home runs. That was a fun one. I stayed up and watched it, the first few innings live, and I was like, it was like 12:15 or something in the morning in the UK, and I was like, I'll watch the Rays bat in the 3rd, and then I'll go to bed. and then we scored 9 runs, and I didn't go to bed till like 1 a.m. But I was like, hey, this is worth it. It was a fun time to be on Rays Twitter. It was a fun time to be on the RBLR group chat, where we were just absolutely dogpiling on this Red Sox offense. We thought this was going to be a bit of a turning point, a bit of a catalyst for a streaky offense, I would say, so far this season. Didn't really go that way, though, did it?
No, it did not. And I think one thing you could point to as a bit of a omen of things to come was that everybody in the lineup that started had a hit except for one player. I'll give you one guess who it was if you don't remember.
Is it Taylor Walls?
Exactly. He had 1 walk, and he did score twice because I think he got on with a fielder's choice at another point in the game. In
fact, he in that 9-run inning, he was 2 of the 3 outs in that inning.
Yes, which kind of leads us to the next 4 games. And we'll get into the specifics of each game kind of individually. You had 2 games where the Rays allowed 6 or more runs, and then 2 games where the Rays only allowed 1. So you have some good pitching, some, less good pitching. They kind of got kicked off with Pepio, which I do think was worth discussing, is that Pepio had another tough start against Boston. Just never really looked comfortable. Never really felt like he was firing on all cylinders. 2 walks, 9 hits given up, 8 strikeouts, 6 innings. So there was a point where I didn't think he was going to get through 3. So the fact that he got through 6 was valuable and did really help the bullpen out. But 6 earned runs over 6 innings is just not. It's not the Ryan Pepio we envisioned when the season began.
Yeah. It felt like he was grinding through it, and it feels like he's been grinding through it for a bit now. He was good on opening day. And then since then, he feels like he's been kind of getting away with it, where he's like given up 3 runs, walked like 3 guys, gave up a few hits, but never really felt particularly like in control of the game, more just kind of slogging through it, which is commendable that he is kind of most of the time able to slog through it and keep the team in the game to a degree. But considering he's kind of the number 1 starter right now until Shane gets back, you'd want a little bit more from him. You'd want him to have his command a little bit more together. And I don't know if it's a confidence thing or it's a mechanical thing, but hopefully he can find his stuff sooner rather than later. He's set to go on Sunday against the Yankees, against Max Fried. So he's going to need to bring his best stuff for that. And I guess that'll be a good test against a really, really tough Yankees lineup. I'm not concerned. I'm concerned, but I'm not like panicking yet. I'm just like watching his games with a bit of tension right now, but I'm not, if this is our worst guy right now, we're in a really good spot rotation wise still.
Yeah. And when you look at his under the hood numbers, he's striking guys out 23% of the time. That's basically what he does for his career. Walking guys just under 9% of the time. Kind of the same thing as what he does. The one outlier kind of stat that I think, if you want to look for something to give you some hope, he's getting BABIP'd a little bit. He's currently sitting at a 323 BABIP right now, which is about 60% higher or 60 points higher than in previous years. So he is getting BABIP'd a little bit right now. The fielding independent pitching is thus pretty bad, but his xFIP is significantly lower than his FIP. It's almost 2 points lower, like 200 points lower than his FIP. So he is getting some bad luck right now. Mm-hmm. So I'm not ready to. I agree with you. I don't think we need to push the panic button on him because the rest of his numbers are pretty much in line. He just kind of had some bad luck, I think, against Boston. But the fact that so many balls are getting put in play on him is, I think, where some of the concern comes in. Because yes, the Rays defense is usually good enough to kind of help out there, but when they're putting the balls, in places where guys aren't, you start to see, where continuing to let more and more balls get put in play can be a problem. So, he's a guy that's going to strike out, 7 to 8 to 9 guys a game. So I don't think this is necessarily a long-term problem for him, but it's just been a tough start to the season. I also think if you just watch those games, he gave up some home runs that I would say were Steinbrenner home runs, whether it was the wind or just the distance. So that he got unlucky there too. So it's been a tough start to the season for Pep, but I'm certainly in no way ready to give up on the guy.
No. How's your patience doing with Steinbrenner Field?
It's tough. It's been really, really tough because we've all seen it over the past couple of games. There have been multiple balls hit that should have been out. Junior had a ball, I think, night before last. Aranda had a ball last night that both you would think should have been out, and they weren't. And I think it's pretty clear when you look at the numbers with the launch angle and the exit velocity that the wind is the reason they weren't out. So that's really tough. I think one of the things that we didn't, we talked about this a little bit, I think, a week or two ago. But the thing we didn't really account for with Steinbrenner is that it is a minor league baseball field. So in Yankee Stadium, there's a whole bunch of seats behind that short porch that protect it a little bit from the wind. In Steinbrenner, there is not. And that wind is, I think we definitely undersold how much the wind was going to affect this, almost every single game. The wind is having a huge effect, which is something to watch, especially come the summer. I mean, Florida is not a place where the wind gets calmer in the summer, I can assure you. So that's definitely something to watch, is that's not really going to go away, unfortunately. That's just kind of going to be what it is. So you'd be interesting to see how, if the Rays hitters try to make any adjustments, or they just kind of say it is what it is. We're going to get lucky some nights and unlucky some other nights. But Steinbrenner has definitely been contributing to some of the frustration here, because you've seen balls off the bat and then you go look at the numbers. Like, I don't know if you're like me, but after I see a ball that's hit really hard, I immediately am going to my phone and being like, all right, what was the exit velocity? What was the launch angle? And it's like, there's plenty of examples you could point to where it's like that either should have been a double or should have been a home run, and instead it was a weak fly out. And it's like, that's just frustrating.
It's very frustrating. Speaking of frustrating, should we address the offense? Because we've been beating around the bush for a while. Obviously, those first 2 games, it really exploded. But since then, we have, on this L4, we've scored 7 runs. So averaging less than 2 runs a game. Shut out in 2 of those 4 games. I guess the sentiment online, which is, I guess, the thing we should address, is this Rays lineup is cooked. It's bad. Is it?
No, it's not bad. It has been situationally very bad to start the season. And there have been some guys that we need to do better that are underperforming. And I think it's one really easy place to look to kind of see an example of that is this first game of the Boston series, where Brandon Lau and Yandy Diaz had a combined 9 at-bats between the 2 of them, and they accounted for 1 hit and 1 RBI and 4 strikeouts between the 2 of them. And then when you look down the rest of the lineup, we only scored 4 runs that game, but the rest of the lineup is contributing. And when you look, if you just look through the box scores of the last couple of games and you just watch the games, as much as we love Yandy and Brandon Lau, and I am the number 1 Brandon Lau fan maybe ever, right? They have not been performing. And that hurts the rest of the lineup. Because here's the thing. We all know exactly what's going on at the bottom. The middle has been really, really good. Meisner, Aranda, Caminero, Morel has been good. Mangum has had moments, right? The guys in the middle are playing well. They're providing value. And it's the beginning and the end of the lineup that is causing us trouble. And the result of that is that you are getting these opportunities where you have multiple guys on base because the middle of the lineup is performing. And then you get to the end of the lineup and they're getting out. And then if you somehow get through the end of the lineup, then you get to the top of the lineup and they're getting out. The bottom and top of the lineup guys are the lowest on the team in OPS and WRC plus. They are the guys that are performing the worst. Brandon Lau had some nice games earlier in the season, so he's kind of, balancing that out a little bit. But when you look at the guys that are supposed to be leading this team right now, you could say Junior he's playing really, really well. Outside of that, you've gotten great performances from Aranda and Meisner. Morel has been pretty good so far. He's had some ugly strikeouts, but he is playing pretty well overall.
He's nowhere near how bad he was last year.
Not at all. Not at all. Unfortunately, what we're looking at right now is we're kind of looking at Yandy right now from the offense. And we are going to talk. Don't worry, we're going to talk about Taylor Walls. So don't.
We are going to talk about Taylor Walls.
Don't worry. And Danny Jansen. We're not absolving them. We're going to get there. But the reality is, you have to look at the guys that when we came into the season, and that's where we're going to get to Jansen next because I think he's the more egregious between him and Walls. But you have to look at the guys that were supposed to be providing offense when the season began. When you look at the frustration you have with the offense, and that's Yandy and that's Bilal. Because it's hard to shake the feeling that if those guys were just, pretty good, we would have won a couple of these games.
Can I myth bust you for a second, though?
You can myth bust me. Go ahead, please do.
So obviously this week's been, the past 4 games have been bad offensively. Yeah. We have been bad offensively the past 4 games, particularly the past 3. I mean, look me in the eye, any baseball fan, and go a 3-game sample is worth putting any merit behind.
No.
Can you do that? You can't do that. You can't do it either. Okay, so let's be honest with ourselves, because it's really frustrating. It's so frustrating. It makes you want to bang your head against the wall losing 2 1-0 games in the span of 3 days. But have you looked at the Rays team stats on the year?
Not in the last 20 minutes, I suppose.
Okay. If I were to ask you this question, would you know the answer? In the American League, where do the Rays rank in WRC plus?
Oh, they rank like 5th or 6th, right? Like they're still doing pretty well. In the American League, probably like 2nd or 3rd, right?
3rd. We are the 3rd best offense in the American League by WRC plus. Only the A's and the Yankees are better than us. The A's and the Yankees.
The A's? The Oakland Athletics?
Yeah, they're swinging it. They're swinging it. Tyler
Soderstrom,
Lawrence Butler, Brent Rooker. They got the big 3. They got the Bash brothers.
Wow,
reincarnated.
That's incredible. Good for them. They deserve it, by the way. Those fans deserve it.
Yeah, Sacramento. Shout out. But the Rays have a 126 WRC plus.
Yep,
that's better than the Red Sox by 24 points.
Yep.
That's better than the Orioles. That's better than, I don't know, who else do you think is a good offense? The Blue Jays, the Padres? It's way better than the Padres and Blue Jays. Yep. It's way better than, I don't know, Texas, the Rangers, the Angels, who are really hot right now. It's higher than the Angels, who, if you just watch their series at Steinbrenner, you'd think they're the greatest hitters alive. Yep. This is a good offense. And shall I tell you something else that you're not going to believe? Please do. That wasn't actually their overall team stats. That was their overall team stats with runners in scoring position. Okay. 3rd in the American League with runners in scoring position. Can you believe that? It's hard to believe it when what we've seen over the last week. We've had 3 bad games. Yes, we have. And again, we can't make judgments of 3 bad games. We've got to look at how the team's been doing as a whole. We've just been getting a lot of 1-run losses or really close losses. Out of our 12, almost half of the losses have been by 1 run, which is just the way you kind of hold your hands up and go, that sucks. We were so close, but these things happen. I was talking before the show. The Rays batted ball data is really comparable to the Yankees batted ball data. This murderer's row of Goldschmidt and Judge and Bellinger absolutely, demolishing the ball. Trent Grisham having himself a month. Best offense in the American League by far. The Rays have very similar average exit velocities, very similar barrel rates to the Yankees. And yet, our offense is absolutely cooked and super frustrating. The Yankees, best offense in the American League. The only difference is that, I don't know, they've managed to hit the ball in the air a little bit more. They've managed to not be hit by the wind as much. I don't know what to tell you other than that. So I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute here on those statistics. Do you think those statistics are skewed by the game on Monday? Sure. Maybe a little bit. A little bit. But that's 1 game out of the 20. Yeah. So that only accounts for 5% of the results here. That's true. Even last week, we were in the top 10 in WRC plus for both regular WRC plus and with runners in scoring position. And that was before the Braves game where we won 8-3, let alone the 16-1 game. Yeah. So it's frustrating, but I think we've all got to kind of look at this with a level head. And go, this offense is good. We're just not quite getting the results to come with it, but the process is working fine as far as I'm concerned. And maybe that's a rubbish answer. The answer we don't want to hear is that it seems fine. It's just not working. And that it will hopefully be due for some positive regression any day. Because that's a cop-out answer. But we're clobbering the ball still. And we're having good at-bats still. Sometimes the sequencing is not great for us. Like sometimes it does end up with Taylor Walls with the bases loaded 3 times in a row, which is like nothing to do with how good the offense is. It's just unlucky that it's fell to that guy every time. Like in any other sport, you can hand the ball to your best guy for your biggest at-bats.
Yep.
Or your biggest moments, right? So like you got a penalty in that Man United game, you got to hand it to Bruno Fernandes. If you need a 3 at the last minute, you can hand the ball to Steph Curry. Like in baseball, you can't do that.
Yep.
And you definitely can't keep your best hitter on the bench waiting for that moment.
Yep.
So it's a bit of bad luck, I would say. Does that sound like copium?
It doesn't, because it's the reality. And I think as much as, it's been frustrating to watch these last 4 games, I think the frustration, because it would be one thing if we were just losing. And if you're losing, I don't think frustration is the word. It may be more like just, depression or sadness or, kind of disappointment. The frustration comes from the fact that every one of those games, we had runners on base with opportunities to score and tie or win the game. The game on Thursday night was maybe the most frustrating game of the week, because you had the bases loaded 3 times, and we've kind of said it ad nauseum at this point, but that's really, really frustrating. And that kind of overrides in your brain all the good moments that have happened.
It's the hope that kills you, right?
Yes.
And the Rays have had hope in every single game that they've been in this year. Yeah. Apart from one.
Yeah. And so that's where I think a lot of the frustration comes in, because you've had those opportunities be there and you just haven't been able to turn them in. And the flip side to that is you're getting the opportunities. I would much rather, as much as there's the frustration there, I would much rather have the frustration of having those opportunities and not turning them in than not getting the opportunities, because that's way worse, is not getting the opportunities. Because then you start, because if we weren't getting the opportunities, it would look like, okay, maybe Aranda isn't playing so well. Maybe Meisner is exactly who we thought he was when we brought him up. And that's a much more uncomfortable conversation, because there doesn't seem like there's a solution here. The solution to this problem that we have right now is for our top 2 hitters to perform the way they're supposed to, and for Ha-Seong Kim to get healthy really, really quickly, please. Like that. Yeah. Those are the solutions to the problems that we're having, because like you're pointing out, the rest of the offense has been excellent. And again, even Yandy and Bigelow have had good moments in there. It's not like they're useless. They've had great moments in there. Just right now, their numbers don't look great, and they've had a rough couple of games. But just as easily, they could bounce back and have great games again today and tomorrow. And we could be talking about, hey, we salvaged that sweep, or we salvaged the split, and then you go on the road to Arizona and San Diego. Who knows what happens? So all of this could turn around. The part that feels bad, and the reason why there's so much frustration, I think, is because you looked up at the standings after the Boston win, and you said, oh, we could be leading the division by the end of the week.
Yeah.
And now you look up and you're 5 games back. Mm-hmm. That's what's tough to watch.
Yeah.
To me, that's what's tough.
Yeah. I mean, if you consider 1-run games like coin flips, which you may or may not do, but if you did, and you flipped those 5 coins again, and we got 3 wins out of those 5 1-run games that we've lost this year, then all of a sudden, instead of 8 and 12, we're 11 and 9. We're 11 and 9,
yes,
which feels way better, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah,
and I know that's dealing in hypotheticals that didn't happen, but all we were was 1 good hit away from 3 good hits in 3 separate games, 1 good hit in 3 different games away from being with that record.
And the reality is, the last 3 games, even more concretely, 1 better swing, 1 little gust of wind here or there, and all of a sudden we're 5-1 on the week.
Right.
And we're leading the division. And it just goes to show you that baseball is a game of failure. It's a game where it can turn just like that. And the good news is that it's not going to be like this all season. We're gonna turn in some opportunities. It may not happen today. I really hope it does. At 4:10 p.m. When we face the Yankees again today. I really
You're gonna
hope
want to win
things
that one.
do. Yeah, that's one. Shane Boz versus Cookie Carrasco. You really need to win this one. It's going to be a tough day in the office if we can't get it done against the whatever's left of Carlos Carrasco. We gotta find a way to win this game. And I think that for our audience, if you're looking at a day in your life and you know you've got to have a win, there's a really, really easy place to go for a win, and the win can be your style. And when you need a win in your style, you can go to shop.rblrsports.com, where all the best merch lives that is inspired by your favorite Tampa sports teams: Rowdies, Bucks, Lightning, Rays, and the Sun. They're all there. Shop.rblrsports.com. Promo code Flappy, 10% off your entire order there. Everything everything there, 10% off. Shop.rblrsports.com.
Yeah, if you need marginal gains, that's the best place to get it. You're gonna be looking sharp. You're gonna be feeling good. You're gonna be taking your best swings in whatever you're doing. So get over to shop.rblrsports.com. Right, let's talk about Taylor Walls.
Let's do it. Let's just get it over with.
Okay, so Taylor Walls has been the main character for the Rays this week, I would say, is the best way to put it. For better or for worse. And it's been for worse. He's been the guy that's been up with runners in scoring position way more often than not, and hasn't really been able to produce. He got that one sack fly, and then other than that, it's been curtains, and he's killed a lot of rallies. I mean, even in that 16-1 game against the Red Sox, we put up 9 runs in the inning. Taylor Walls was 2 of those 3 outs. And Taylor Walls was a contentious figure amongst Rays fans coming into the season. Patience was growing thin with him then. And we were of the firm evaluation of Walls that he is a good fielder, and we explained why defensive metrics aren't keen on him. To put it briefly, is that he does a lot of pre-pitch movement that doesn't get measured in defensive metrics, which allows him to make a lot of plays look routine or less impressive metrically, because he's already moved to where the ball's going to be, and he's really good at predicting that. But he is a bad hitter that would be best utilized as a utility player or late defensive replacement that could come in, play short, third or second, when either occasionally a guy needs time off his feet, or a late inning defensive replacement when you're holding on to a tight lead and you'd rather have Walls at third than Caminero or whoever. The problem is, though, we had a generationally good shortstop that he was backing up for, who then disappeared and was accused and is under trial for some heinous crimes. And so we were left without a shortstop. And so he's had to take up the everyday role. And the Rays have now addressed that need by signing Ha-Seong Kim. But the problem is he is injured and will be injured for at least another couple of weeks. So Taylor Walls is going to hold down the fort till then. But because of all of his failures at the plate, which are nothing new, we knew he was a bad hitter. Rays fans have launched out a more vicious assault than usual online against him, saying he needs to be off the team and DFA'd. How do you feel about Taylor Walls and his long-term and short-term future on this team?
I feel like I want to read you 2 stat lines over the last 4 games. 13-2, or 2 for 13 with 2 RBIs.
Okay.
And then the other stat line, 1 for 13, no RBIs. Which guy would you rather have in the lineup every day after that? Those are both obviously not great numbers, but if you got to pick one, who would you rather have?
Yeah, I'd rather take the 2 for 13 with 2 RBIs.
Okay, the 2 for 13 guy with 2 RBIs is Taylor Walls. Who do you think the other guy was?
Was it Yandy?
It was Christopher Morel.
Oh, okay.
So it's easy to point to Yandy because Yandy's struggles have been pretty documented. But I think most Rays fans would much rather have Morel in the lineup than Taylor Walls, and they would say Morel hasn't been the problem, which I would agree with, by the way. But we are in small sample size territory here to begin this season, and to be clear, Taylor Walls is never going to be good as a hitter.
No.
But to be honest with you, he is doing exactly what he was supposed to do. And you're 100% right to point out. Rays fans right now are mad. They're frustrated. I'm frustrated too. It's easy to point that frustration at Taylor Walls. And you might say, and I might say to those people who are pointing your frustration there, I'm going to tell you you're pointing your frustration in the wrong direction. And so if you hear that, you might say, well, then instead of pointing it at Taylor Walls, who maybe you can agree with me, maybe you can't, that this is just kind of who he is. You might point to Kevin Cash, the manager, and say, well, he's the one running him out there every day. And you can point some frustration there. And you could do that. You could point it at Erik Neander and say that why are they running these two guys out there? And I think you have to be, and again, I think you have to be rational and say, well, wait a minute, Erik Neander just went and got the best shortstop available on the market. It's not his fault that he happened to be hurt for the first month of the season. And Kevin Cash, who's he supposed to put at shortstop? Cabby? Cabby's looked good to start the season. You could put him at shortstop. The reality is that if you put him at shortstop, then you're now Walls on the bench. And there are guys that have played pretty well that could play the outfield instead of Cabby. But the reality is Cabby is not as good of a shortstop as Taylor Walls is. And I think, and when you look at the way the Rays construct their lineups, they rely on a couple of defensive guys to provide value and not get you runs, but save you runs from a defensive perspective that then allows you to capitalize more on the runs you do get. And that's where Taylor Walls comes in. And this is the Rays organizational philosophy. It has been for years. And so I think your frustration should be instead pointed in two directions. The first you already mentioned, Wander Franco, who we haven't talked much about on this show because the allegations are still sort of we don't really know for sure, but it's pretty clear that this guy's never coming back to Major League Baseball and he's never coming back to the team. And those are the result of his own actions. And so there's definitely needs to be, I think as Rays fans, it's fair to have some frustration there because he was supposed to be the guy and he's not going to be.
Taylor Walls would never be getting regular at-bats if Wander Franco didn't do what he did.
Yes.
And you don't plan for a guy that you've extended to a 12-year deal to disappear within the first year of that deal forever.
No, the plan was for Taylor Walls to be your backup shortstop, probably for a while, and then have Wander out there. And then if something crazy happened in like 4 or 5 years, like he had an injury, Carson Williams is supposed to be ready to go. And he comes up, right? That was the plan. The plan didn't happen, didn't work, and there's nothing anybody could have done about that. If you actually want to point your frustration somewhere, and this is where I've been pointing most of my frustration lately, and if you'd ever been on the Rays Discord, the RBLR Rays Discord, you would see that frustration is being vented in one direction where I do believe actually there is some justification to the frustration. Unlike Taylor Walls, where I understand the frustration, the one where I get it is Danny Jansen. I am running out of rope for Danny Jansen. And the reason that I'm running out of rope for Danny Jansen faster than I'm running out of rope for Taylor Walls is because Taylor Walls is doing his job. He is playing really, really good shortstop. He is making good moves on the base paths when he gets on, occasionally putting the bat on the ball and making occasionally a couple good things happen. Danny Jansen is not hitting, and he is not doing anything behind the plate. And that is what that's what you can't, it's hard to stomach for me as a fan. I can buy when somebody's doing one thing really well. It's really hard for me when somebody's doing nothing well. And especially when they were brought in to be a hitter and they're not hitting. And they look bad up there at the plate. And it's a very small sample size. So we're going to say that and be honest about that it's a very small sample size and things could turn around. But in this very small sample size, it's been it's been hard to watch because with Walls, whenever I see a bad Walls at bat, I can always go back to another equally amazing highlight or, watching in person, seeing the way he performs, there. You can kind of, accept that. But it's a question
of expectations, isn't it? So Walls is kind of matching what we expect of him of being a rubbish hitter, but good fielder. But Jansen, the expectation was that he was going to be an okay defender and a good hitter.
Yes. And instead, he has been a 45 OPS plus. I'm on Baseball Reference right now just because I was looking up some game logs. But I'm sure his WRC plus is not much better.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're getting out of him. That is not what we had in mind. And I'm guaranteed that's not what Erik Neander had in mind when he signed him.
No, he has been below replacement level in terms of Fangraphs WAR. He, Yandy Diaz, Curtis Mead, and Ben Rovet are the only players on the team that have negative position players on the team that have negative WAR. Yeah. And yeah, we could definitely point to Yandy Diaz for sure as well. But Danny Jansen, but again, it's a question of expectations. Like at least Yandy Diaz, we knew his WAR depended entirely on his bat because he wasn't going to play the field very much. And if so, he was going to play first base. So we, but so his WAR wasn't going to climb particularly high, even if he was hitting well, because he's not adding much defense. But Jansen, yeah, I did a brief discussion on it last week about how he is failing to frame and how that works. So if you want to go check that out, go check out last week's episode. I do a little 5-minute breakdown on how framing can get measured and how the shadow zone works and how it's not a Yu-Gi-Oh thing. But the yeah, he's been really, really bad at framing, and he's not hitting. So yeah, it makes you go, what is he good for? The problem is Ben Rovet's not being better, really. No. So we're stuck in a similar problem. And I guess you could go, well, at least Alex Jackson couldn't hit, but also played like decent defense.
Yeah, right? I mean, I think he played more than decent defense. He was very good behind the plate.
Alex Jackson is the Taylor Walls of catches.
Yes.
Right. And I can totally get why you wouldn't want two Taylor Wallses in the same lineup. Like, I totally understand. Like, when people are like, a good bullpen shortens the game. Two Taylor Wallses would shorten your lineup. Yeah, it makes you wonder. So Danny Jansen is the exact opposite. And we talked about this when he signed. He's the exact opposite of what the Rays usually get out of their catches.
Yeah.
Like the Rays don't care about catching bats. Now, I do wonder, and I don't know if it's worth bringing this up. This felt like a move that was made. The Danny Jansen signing was a move that was designed to be against the Rays' philosophy, but to appease the fan base, to make a better entertainment product, as opposed to like how the Rays want their baseball to go. The Rays fans said, hey, we're getting absolutely nothing out of shortstop and catcher. They are correct. They were getting no lineup production out of shortstop or catcher. We said that. And they said, right, fine. Here's someone that'll produce hitting at catcher, even though he's not a guy that usually matches our organizational philosophy at catcher. And this is what we're getting. I mean, I don't think it's the front office's fault that Danny Jansen isn't hitting. But it's Danny Jansen. We didn't expect him to be good at defense. He's a little worse than we expected, but we didn't expect him to be a good framer or a good catcher of base runners. And this is what we're getting. And it does make you go, is this, if we went and signed Paul DeYoung because he's got slightly more bat to him than Taylor Walls and can play like shortstop? Because anyone but Taylor Walls.
I mean, Cabby would do that, though. Cabby does that. You could just put Cabby at shortstop if that's what you wanted.
Do you think? Like, I could totally understand. I think it's hard to not put Cabby at shortstop sometimes. Because is the defense by Walls that much better than Cabby?
I mean, I think the fact that they're running him out there every day is kind of the proof that it is. I mean, the Rays know better than we do, and it's clear that they believe that that's the difference. I actually have another thought on this, on changing this up a little bit. I think that right now, the fact that you can get to the 8-9 hole in the lineup every day and you know that it's almost 2 auto outs, to me, I think the solution might be change their spot in the lineup. And they've done this a couple of times, and I'd actually like to see them do it more. Mix Danny Jansen or Roart and Walls into the regular lineup a little bit more. Maybe let Meisner bat 9th. Let Yandy bat first. Mangum, maybe do Mangum Meisner at the bottom of the lineup, or Mangum Cabby, or whatever, or however that's going to go in a day.
Chandler Simpson.
We're going to get to it, and because he is a guy that I want to see in the lineup a lot because I think he is a guy, when you talk about the things that the Rays are struggling with is getting guys on base and then scoring them. You want to talk about a guy that can fix that problem. That's what Chandler Simpson was born to do, is to fix that problem. And because he actually, I do think, is a solution. I would love to see him in the 9-hole, either leading off or in the 9-hole every day. To me, if I was making the Rays lineups, he would be either in the 9-hole or the 1-hole every single day until he just was so bad you had to take him out. Because if he gets on base, he is basically an automatic triple if he gets on base. Yeah. So
him and Mangum back to back, I really like, because Chandler Simpson hits a ground ball to shortstop. He ends up at first base because it wasn't hit right at him or something. He then steals second. He then steals third. You've got Mangum, who's really good at putting the ball in play. All you need is hit a Baltimore chop. Simpson's running on contact. He gets to the catcher before the bounce even hits the ground. That's
I like the idea. I really like the idea. That's a really good idea. Chandler 8, Mangum 9, Yandy 1, or Meisner, because all three, because those two guys have all shown they can put the ball in play. And Yandy, while he's been rough recently, he could turn that around at any time. I believe. I just got to believe that, because his exit velos have still been pretty good. He absolutely destroyed a couple of baseballs over the past couple of days, and they just went right to people. So I do believe he can turn that around. So, but you get Chandler on base. And the thing about Chandler Simpson, I think that sometimes is lost in the sauce of talking about how fast he is he can get on base. His batting, he led, I think, his division in batting average last season.
Yeah.
He can get on base.
He will not take walks. He loves to swing, but he's got 70 grade contact.
Yes.
He will put the ball in play. He won't hit it hard, but it's actually better that he doesn't hit it hard.
Yes. He's just floating it into the outfield or getting it through the infield on a grounder. And if he gets it in play, there was a great highlight a couple of days ago where he hit the ball to first and made it. He hit a weak grounder to first base and he was safe.
You want Chandler Simpson to hit weak ground balls more than you want him to square it up.
Yes. A weak ground ball is a single for him.
Yeah.
And so 100%. So my thought is exactly kind of what we're talking about here. Get that guy in the lineup and let him, and then hide Walls and Jansen throughout some of the other guys in the lineup. And as opposed to sticking them in a block at the bottom of the lineup to kill innings. Split them up. Don't let them bat back to back. Split them up and filter them through the lineup somehow. Maybe I think somewhere between 9 and maybe 5. 5 seems a little high, but somewhere in there, find a way to put him in there. Get him in there. Say, Jansen, you're supposed to be a hitter. All right, bud, you're out there at 6. You're out there at the 5-hole. Go get him, Tiger. And then put, maybe you put Walls in at 7. Do some things there to try to hide them a little bit in the lineup. I think that could help. And then again, I'm not Kevin Cash. I'm going to trust him with what he does, but that's something that I would try, because I think having them back to back is exacerbating the frustration and the problem with those guys.
Yeah, I like that idea. And Kevin Cash is not adverse to doing that, I don't think. He likes doing stuff like that. So there's still lots of hope for me. We've still got lots of time. We just got to, if we can win the next two. Yeah, if we can win the next 2 against the Yankees, split the series, I think we'll all be happy with a split series against the Yankees. Then we got a road trip against the D-backs and Padres, who are both doing well. And the Rays historically don't do well out west. So if they can split that, if they can go 500 on the roads, that's fine. And then when we come back home, who have we got? It's let me double check.
We come back home to Kansas City. We have a series at home with Kansas City. We go on the road to New York, and then we get the Phillies and the Brewers after that at home.
Okay, so it doesn't get much easier, but you just got to put it together a series at a time, right? Let's
put it. Yep. And one thing that I was going to say is this Yankees series, there's been so many Yankees series, a lot of them in Yankee Stadium, where we won the first 2 games and we were like, man, we got to go for the sweep. And then somehow they pull out a split. So I'm hoping we can reverse it a little bit on them there and somehow pull out a split here. They would love to sweep us. Do a little reverse. And then again, as much as we look at this, because I agree, the schedule is tough for a while here. Mix into that we may be the reports are very good on Ha-Seong Kim. So you could mix in Ha-Seong Kim there You just brought up Chandler Simpson. The hope is that Palacios won't be out too long. It's really hard to say.
I guess we need to address that. Like that he came back for a day. Looks good. Yeah, it looked really good. And just dinged up his knee. Apparently it's similar to the thing that happened at the end of last year where like he did something that dinged it up. But they don't reckon he'll be out too long. Yeah. They reckon it's just like a dinged it up, give him a week off his feet, he'll be fine. But it gives Chandler Simpson the opportunity, which is very exciting.
Yes, very exciting. And I think that that's something that is going to be a high point. You're going to get to see some of the awesome stuff that he's done at the minor league level. He's going to be a must-watch at bat because you're just waiting for him to get on base to see what he'll do. And it's going to mess with pitchers because at this point, his reputation will kind of precede him. So you know that it's going to be in the pitcher's head and the catcher's head that this guy's going to steal and you want to get him out. Like it's going to be there. So, it'll be very interesting to see how all that takes place over the next couple of games. And hopefully it can result in a couple of wins here to kind of get out of a rough stretch. But at the end of the day, it's 20 games into the season where the season is not over. Okay. Nothing is over. All of this can still be recovered from.
Yeah. And we should end on a positive and do our bat and arm of the week. I say
we should. And I think we should start it with the bat because the bats have been frustrating. They have been difficult to watch for a while now. But that has kind of been, I think a little overblown because there's several bats that are performing really well. And one that has kind of exceeded all expectations, even more so than some of the other guys, has exceeded all expectations and has just kind of been a light where we needed it. Because if he wasn't performing well, it'd be a tough look even more so. Cameron with K, Meisner, we agree, bat of the week. Has been kind of a guy that we really needed when Josh Lowe goes down, when you're like, oh no, we're in trouble. But we're not in trouble because we have Cameron Meisner.
Yeah, maybe the real Josh Lowe is the Cameron Meisners we met along the way. Like, he has been outstanding. I mean, on the year for the Rays, it's a 227 WRC plus. Second on the team in WAR, 0.8 FWAR already, behind only another great bat that was probably in contention this week as well, Johnny Aranda. So. But yeah, he's been absolutely outstanding. I mean, he had that 2 home run game against Boston, which definitely helped his cause out a lot this week. But has hit 3 on the year. It's just been clobbering the ball. And, we were worried about his swing and miss, but he's actually been really, really good. And not been striking out as much as we thought he would and just been absolutely clobbering the ball. He looks like kind of in between Josh Lowe's bests. Like, he looks like he's just below like Josh Lowe's ceiling. Yes. Which is, hey, we got Josh Lowe. We got Josh Lowe at home.
Yeah. I did not know that Cameron Meisner had this in him at the major league level. I think it's a bit, optimistic to say that this will continue into perpetuity. But if he can be somewhere around this level, that is far and away above whatever I expected from him. He's been fun to watch. He's been beyond just the numbers themselves. If you watch his last 3 at-bats over the last 2 games, he got a pinch hit in last night's game in particular, where we didn't end up coming to anything, but the way that he put up a strong at bat where, against a guy in Luke Weaver, who's kind of like feels unhittable right now. He's been elite so far, goes out there and really makes Luke Weaver work for that save more so than some of the other 2 guys who were, in Brandon Lau and Christopher Morel, who we would have placed above Cameron Meisner in ceiling and in, even floor probably before the season. And yet Cameron Meisner is the one who goes out there and gives the toughest AB. He is fighting every single at bat, hitting the ball hard. You just got to love what you've seen so far from Cameron Meisner.
Yeah. Keep it up.
Please.
And, this is like all-star level pace. You know what I mean?
Yes,
if he did this till July, he's on the all-star team.
He is. He is.
Yeah. Which would be nuts. Arm of the week. There are a couple of contenders, I think, because it wasn't the pitching that was the problem this week. So we had quite a few good outings. But who have we decided to give our arm of the week to?
We decided to give our arm of the week to a guy that has, it's been a tough competition, I would say, between two guys who have kind of been the best pitchers so far this season. But I'm going to give it, and I think we're going to give it to Shane Baz.
Yep.
6 innings, 2 hits, no walks. To me, that's golden. 11 strikeouts. The only run given up was a home run.
Yeah, that Christian Campbell home run was nuts, by the way. Yeah. He was just like well on a slider up in the zone and kind of cheated to it. Yes. He's a hell of a player. But other than that, outstanding start. Outstanding start. And he's been like that all year.
Yes.
In fact, ever since he came back from the IL last year.
He's been elite. And right now, him and Drew Rasmussen, who pitched more recently than him, so currently Drew is leading in F4. But those two have been kind of going back and forth with being the pitching F4 leader since the beginning of the year. And it may be that's how it's going to be all year long. Because Drew is, if Shane Baz is arm A, Baz is arm, or excuse me, if Baz is arm A, Drew is arm B right now. They are right there neck and neck. They have both been elite so far. But to me, I love watching Shane Baz pitch. The thing that I love the most about him so far this season, he is leaving 98% of his runners on base. I love to see that. It's so demoralizing for an offense, as we know, to have those, to get runners on and not be able to capitalize. So I just love watching Shane Baz pitch. He's the guy that I said was going to be the team Cy Young. Really excited to see what he can do throughout the rest of the season. He's been excellent so far.
So good. The Chris Archer trade just keeps on giving, huh?
It does. Hopefully forever.
Hopefully forever. So who are the current arms of the Chris Archer trade? It's Baz, it's Morel, it's Biggie.
Yes. Yes. That's the current web that we are seeing. And honestly, all 3 of those guys are at the major league level, and they're all
and DeLuca and Pepio.
Yes.
Because that's Tyler Glasnow.
Yes.
And then the Morel and Biggie are from the Paredes trade, which was from the Meadows trade.
Which was also from the Paredes, yeah.
Yeah. Whew. This trade tree, when it's all said and done, is going to be insane.
I don't think that whoever the Pirates GM is, I don't know his name, I think he has to have all Tampa numbers blocked right now. Like, he just can't be receiving calls from Tampa anymore.
Is it still Ben Cherington? Is he still?
I have no idea. I'll be straight up with you. I have no idea.
Okay. Do you want to know a couple of fun things, a couple of fun facts before we get out of here?
I do.
Okay. So, in terms of ERA with minimum 20 innings pitched in the American League, guess where Drew Rasmussen is?
I know because I looked at it before the show. He's at a .87, I believe.
Yeah, ERA. Yeah, .87 ERA.
So he's got to be like top 5, right? I'm gonna say second. Wow.
Second in the American League in ERA with at least 20 innings pitched. Wow. Behind only Chris Bassett, who's low-key having a heck of a year for the Blue Jays. He's got a 0.77 ERA.
Good for him.
And then I also want to just point out that we got another league leader in Jake Mangum, who is tied for the American League lead in stolen bases.
How about that?
With 7, which is also a fun one.
Could the Rays go back-to-back in league leaders in stolen bases?
I think if Jake Mangum sticks on the team for the whole year somehow, like if Josh Lowe never quite gets right, then yeah, I don't see why not.
So here's the real question. Jake Mangum may be on the team all year. Chandler Simpson may be on the team all year. Could the Rays find a way to have 1-2 in stolen bases?
Quite possibly. I'd also like to add that if you put in a plate appearance modifier of, let's say, 50, because Cameron Meisner has 53, the American League OPS charts go as follows. Aaron Judge, Cameron Meisner, Johnny Aranda.
Wow.
That's your 1, 2, 3.
That's your 1, 2, 3.
In OPS.
That's your 1, 2, 3. This is what I'm saying. We just have to find a way to not let Taylor Walls and Danny Jansen kill innings. The boys are hitting. So our guys are hitting. You just got to find a way to not allow them to just kill innings.
Yeah,
got to find 100%. A way. Got to find
100%. And we will, I believe.
Yeah, maybe Danny Jansen needs to learn to bunt. Maybe that's the topic for the next pod. Maybe he just needs to figure it out. He's not really fast enough to bunt, but maybe he just needs to get like really, really good at bunting.
Maybe Danny Jansen needs to learn to play baseball.
maybe that. I hope that you guys all know, and I don't have to teach you where you can find us. At this point, I hope that I've told you enough times, but you can find us on all of the social media across the internets. We are at RBLR Rays. You can follow us on Twitter if you want to hear more of what we have to say. We do occasionally give our thoughts during the week on games. I'm a little intermittent in my thoughts. Pat's, I think, a little more consistent than I am. We're out there.
I'm usually there calling out bad takes.
So
I'm usually calling out bad takes or well, in fact, this is the same thing, but last night I told John Boy to go away.
Yes, I saw that. I liked that tweet. And if you like tweets like that, give us a follow. And if you really want to help us out, more than following us on social media, the real thing you can do to help us out is like this video if you've enjoyed it. If you're watching us on YouTube, like it, or like the link to it on Twitter if you've enjoyed. If you really want to help us out the most, it's free. Subscribe, follow us. You'll know when we go live. You'll know when you have the opportunities to be a part of the conversation. We want to hear from you guys on YouTube. You guys can comment, let us know what you think. What do you think the solution is to the Danny Jansen and Taylor Walls problem? Are you done with Taylor Walls completely, or are you kind of like us where you think we should give him a little more run, or are you just one you cannot wait for Ha-Seong Kim to get here? Whatever it is, we want to know what you guys think. And we are just excited to be here with you guys all throughout the season. Despite the frustration that we're enduring right now, the Rays are still a team with a ton of talent that we believe in, and we think they are going to turn it around.
Definitely. Just give it a week and we'll all be like, see, we told you so, I hope.
I hope we can come back here next week. We went like 8-0 or something since we last spoke. 7-0. I think we'll play 7 games. Yeah. That'll be the plan. We're just going to come back here next week and we'll be, what would we be? We would be 15-12 at that point. That'll be the plan. When that happens, we'll be back here. But until then, it's Rays up.
Rays up.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.